This was a surprise last night. The Bills nabbed Joey Bosa on a 1-year, $12.6 million deal.
I like it.
Bosa's only 29.
Yeah.
Now, he's had an injury history in recent years, but the Bills recently moved on from Von Miller, so Bosa fills that void.
At his best, he's better than Von Miller, and he's cheaper.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah. So, no, it's a good...
Can he stay healthy is the question.
You know, here's the thing. It's the Von Miller deal I didn't like because I thought he was past his prime and it was a huge deal. This is a 1-year deal for $12.5 million. It's a very smart deal. I'm actually surprised there wasn't more of a market because you and I were on the go-get Myles Garrett train. Well, Joey's not Myles Garrett, but when he's healthy, he's a good player.
Oh, very good. Is this the kind of move that puts them over the top, or we don't?
No, I think they still... listen, puts them over the top. They're at the top. They just can't beat one team. Everybody else in the league, Philadelphia, Kansas City ahead, Buffalo's third, they're fine. I say one of the stories of the offseason that nobody's talking about is Kansas City's offensive line. It wasn't good last year.
It's terrible.
Well, you can't lose Joe Thuney and convince me of a better O-line. Joe Thuney's one of the 5 most flexible, capable offensive linemen in the sport.
I know people aren't going to want to hear this, but I'm pro, hey, we need a pitch count, if you will, for Bosa during the regular season because I want him healthy in January and February.
That's right.
Like, I don't care if he's not producing in the regular season. I need him in the playoffs because that's all that matters.
That's smart GMing. 1 year, $12.5 million, good player. Let's say you get 12 games out of him. Okay. All right. Is he playing against Kansas City in the playoffs? I'm good.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. I think contracts like this, 1 year, reasonable, $12.5 million. Again, I keep talking a lot about this with various teams because obviously there's deals happening left and right. You're not trying to back yourself into a corner. You're not trying to overspend. You're not trying to overspend also over a long-term, type deal. I'm always a little bit hesitant when you're dealing with older players, relatively speaking, in this regard. And someone who's injury prone. Like, as long as you're not expecting Joey Bosa to fill a major hole or be like a foundational piece, because you can't rely on it. Because of the injuries, and it's always unsettling when you get a player like that who maybe is great, no matter how great they are. They could be like elite and special, but there's the feeling of like I don't know. Like, how will this guy be healthy, ready to go in the divisional playoff round on the road against so-and-so, whatever the case may be. That's obviously when it matters most. But I do think this is a nice pickup, a nice move. But for my viewpoint, it's for a lot of these teams, but especially a team like the Bills, it's got to be one of many. When you're not upgrading from a defensive from a coaching, not defensive, but just from a coaching perspective. If you think you're like, you know what, we have a really good roster, but like we came up short, right? And then you have to try to figure out like, well, why? What happened? What pieces do you need to elevate at certain key positions? Is it a defensive issue? Do you need a new coordinator here or there, et cetera, et cetera? And for the most part, you're having the same offensive coach and the same defensive coach for this team. So then it's just like, okay, so then like, how do you take the next step forward? One, you're going to have some of the other, younger players who still have room to like legitimately get better, to take those next steps to kind of improve. And it's like, okay, check. And it's like, well, then what else do you have? And it's like, well, what other pieces can you add? What other depth can you have? When you're the Buffalo Bills and you are a defensive head coach led team, to have the defense that you had last year, it's indefensible. It's literally, it's like, no, then there's no point in having you as a head coach. If you can't, make a better defense, then, like, what are we doing here? And I reject what Colin says, where he's like, oh, well, they're already at the top. What do you want? They just can't beat this one team. Okay, but that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. If the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Philadelphia Eagles, that would be an easier pill to swallow, because you'd be like, dude, the Chiefs, this is just the Chiefs, man. They just can't, nobody can beat them. But when you see the Philadelphia Eagles dominate them and make Patrick Mahomes look pedestrian a mere 2 weeks after Patrick Mahomes essentially really did whatever he wanted. That offense, Andy Reid and that offense really did whatever they wanted. And I don't want to keep hearing, oh, well, there was injuries and this, that, because last year there was injuries and then this year. And it's like, I get it, and sometimes injuries are the excuse, and understandably so. But it's just it's enough. Find ways to elevate. Find ways to add depth. Find ways to put young guys in positions to succeed. Like it's got to be something. The Eagles were able to turn around 2 rookies and turn them into absolute studs. Where if they're not there, Eagles don't win the Super Bowl. The Eagles don't make the Super. I mean, the Eagles are just not the same team. Overnight they fixed that defense. And they still dealt with some injuries as well. Some older players, some rookie. They had a balance of really old players who were just like, pretty much done. Who are, they got young players who have never played a snap a day in their life in the NFL. And they were able to find this way. And do it against great teams, great offenses. They slowed down Joe Burrow and the Bengals, great offense. They slowed down Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, great offense. They were able to do it every step of the way. They were able to slow down Jaden Daniels, whose offense and was on fire, was the hottest team in the NFL at the time. And they were able to essentially make the Kansas City Chiefs look like they did not belong. And so, for me, as soon as the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl, the excuses stopped. It was like, no more. And I'm major defenders of a team like the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, etc. Major. I defend them every step of the way. Every step of the way. And explain a lot of their losses, etc., etc. But once you see the Philadelphia Eagles win, it's just like, I'm just, my response will always be better. Be better. Make moves. Be aggressive. And again, I like this move. This is a nice step. But this whole counter is to really Colin just being like, well, what are you gonna do? It's the Eagles, the Chiefs, and then the Bills. Well, it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. It should be the Eagles, Chiefs, and Bills all in the same tier. Or the Bills are 1, or the Bills are 2. Like, they don't have to be number 1 necessarily, but it's just like, no. So, and so, J-Max asked, does this get them over? And it's like, no. If Joey Bosa is 100% healthy and they're going up against the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoff game, would that game maybe been a little bit different? Maybe. Would it have helped? Sure. I suppose. But it doesn't have to be such this fine line. Again, the Eagles proved that. That it doesn't have to come down to the final 35 seconds of a game. And quite frankly, Patrick Mahomes and that offense, and Andy Reid for that matter, were able to really do whatever they wanted offensively. And some of the throws, some of the players that Patrick Mahomes were thrown to, how open they were when he was running to also get into the end zone himself, just easy. I could run in there. They were just able to really do whatever they wanted to offensively. And in those moments, a Joey Bosa, from my viewpoint, isn't the difference of that not happening. Could it be a little bit more difficult? Sure, of course. But it's not like that ultimate difference. So I really want to continue to see what the Bills do. And they have to nail draft picks. They have to nail draft picks. Again, I think the Eagles are going to continue just to be the best example right now, because obviously they had just won the Super Bowl. But when you look at what the Eagles did, we can point to concrete free agency moves. Saquon Barkley, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Zach Bond, etc. All of those needed to hit. Then, Becton, the O-line for the Eagles, a player for the O-line. They had to hire Fangio. They had to hire Kellen Moore. And they had to draft Cooper DeJean, Mitchell, etc. Every single one of those needed to hit for them to win. Not just one, not just two, all of them. All of them. If they don't nail the draft, they don't win. If Fangio's not the right hire and they hire someone else, they don't win. Kellen Moore, instead of getting Kellen Moore, they, they promote someone else within, they don't win. They don't get Saquon, they don't win. All of these moves. So it's all of it. It's all of it. So that's why I'm locked in and be like, what else are the Bills doing? The Bills are doing some of these other smaller things, getting a receiver, getting Joey Bosa. Like, they're doing some of these other smaller things, which I think are good and key. But like, where the I want to see where are the moves that that we can look back on and be like, yep. Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. If the Buffalo Bills go off and win the Super Bowl this coming season, when we look back on March, April, May, June, etc., it's just like, where will we point to and say, dude, that was it. Whoa. And maybe it is Bosa. Maybe Bosa feasts. Maybe he stays healthy all season. People thought Saquon Barkley was going to be injured. And maybe Bosa feasts and says, bro, you guys forget who I am. I'm a Bosa, bro. I get after it. And he does give Patrick Mahomes fits in, the playoff game, Lamar Jackson, whatever it is. And it directly leads to a win. And we're like, yeah, man, that was the move. They stole him for $12 million on a 1-year deal. Like, it could be. It could be. So, yeah. I just think the clock is absolutely undeniably ticking on these other teams in the AFC, on the Bengals, the Bills, and the Ravens. That's what the Eagles did. The Eagles absolutely just hit the clock and said, go. We beat them. And we played them better than you. We dominated them. It wasn't even close. So don't tell me that it's unacceptable to be like, yeah, it's the Chiefs. What are you going to do? Yeah, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? That is the question. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Buffalo Bills moves so far? They're adding both offense and defensive pieces at this point. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.